shoot. Okay, let's begin our. So what I was basically mentioning about SPY, um, overall, basically SPY has been in a very choppy, non-trending environment. That's why it's been really difficult. 2022 has been extremely difficult for the fact that nothing was, when it comes to bigger picture, and SPY dictates everything really, even smaller caps. If SPY is trending like this, this is daily chart by the way, expect everything to be trading in a chop, right? This is where SPY normally does. This is where SPY normally does when it comes to pullback, but not like this, right? By this time, we should have been hitting like high of days and start to continue to sort of go back to normal, but it didn't. So this is what's messing up 2022's trading for everyone. You know, it's been slow, to be honest. It's been really slow. So now, overall picture obviously on SPY is always trending, but medium term is actually in a choppy environment, but slash downtrend. Okay, I'm not going to go through too much as I did earlier, but only recently I found that this might be the reversal area with a nice little head and shoulder. I'll keep an eye on this bar here with huge volume. Something doesn't want it to go beyond 350. Okay, it bounced off of it very, very quickly. That day it gapped down under 350, but it recovered it very quickly and then never looked back. Okay, so that is the initial telltale sign that this might be going for a bigger pullback or even reversal. Okay, that's the first sign. Second sign, I noticed that, you know, earlier on it was creating that head and shoulder. This turned out to be the bigger shoulder pullback. I thought this was the shoulder, but you know, these things are never perfect anyways. But as you can see, a reversal pattern is continuing to hold. Now, with that in mind, if we are in a pullback area or a bounce or reversal in a let's say daily chart on SPY or the market, mostly I'll be looking at for longs. Long biased a little bit on the big names. That's what I'm gonna keep it short, slightly long biased on the big names because of SPY's where it's at and how it's trading on daily as well as intraday. All right, so intraday, as you can see, gapping up and it's kind of giving back its gap up gains, but we can still consider this to be strong because yesterday it ended up very strong. As long as it holds over yesterday's close, that is still strength in the market. Okay, so this is quite normal to see a little bit of a fade off coming in, but then we might see some bounce coming back to it as well. A lot of areas to watch on it. I would say definitely 397 is the crucial area, whereby it's close to VWAP, but VWAP, when it starts to open, it might be around 39650. 39650 might be a better area to watch as it opens. And if it does break that, there might be potential opportunities there. Okay, so that's SPY, long bias. That means on major caps, Apple's, your Teslas, your Amazon, your big names, basically, I'm going to be slightly shifting towards the longs. Okay, NIO is gapping up intraday because of these Chinese positive news about the COVID. I think the government is easing off on the restrictions. That's why we've been getting bounces on these beaten down Chinese stocks, right? Plus we've got a earnings gap as well, so that is definitely helping NIO stay up. It's really beaten down though. We are actually coming from the bottom, but I'm expecting a bigger bounce coming into NIO for the next few weeks. So that's what I think. So maybe looking into some long opportunities if it starts to break some crucial levels. That's what I'm going to be looking at. At this point, it's gapped up and it's holding its gap kinda. But still, even if it does pull back towards 1050s, this might still have that opportunity to carry on going for the next run, at least for next day or two. 1075s, yeah, 1075s is a crucial level as well. 1080 is actually this area here. So what you wanna, what I will be watching on NEO is, if it does pull back, how much does it pull back, right? If it does pull back towards, let's say 1060, 1070, that's fine. As long as it's giving a reversal pattern to take longs, that's fine. But if I miss that reversal pattern, and then if it takes out the, let's say the VWAP, I'll probably might start early, but crucial level would be 11. If it starts to take that 11, it might go for another run, for some run. Next level would be 12, just over 12. So keeping an eye on that. Just remember, NEO can be difficult to trade, especially at the open. It could be very choppy. So if you're going to trade it, have a bigger picture perspective on it and stick to bigger stop losses and stick to it. Ideally low of day on that day. All right, GFI. GFI has been running quite aggressively lately, but as you can see, volume picked up on it and stayed consistent. That's the only thing worries me. But if this volume was low, getting lower, with this much move, then I'll be all over shorting this thing. I'm still gonna look for shorts on GFI, but I'll be careful because that volume staying consistent on these moves up is kind of it's basically confident in the stock. A lot of people joining, new traders coming in, buying, and holding. So basically demand is higher than supply on this. So we are gonna look for possible shorting opportunities, especially if it pops and starts to reject. But for the longs, I will not consider longs on it, even though it looks very strong. But no, something like this, yes, it's not by price very extended, but as it trades, it doesn't usually do this much of a move, right? Just turn that off. So to keep it simple and short, I'm going to be looking for shorting opportunities on GFI, still in play. Okay, so DWAC. DWAC, I kept it because this could be a good place in the next 2-3 days, next 2-3 weeks even, because it's just when it comes to, let's say, Donald Trump's news, anything to do with political news on Donald Trump, things like that, especially with elections, it pops. It's directly linked to it. So if there is news on it and if it starts to run, I want to make sure this is on my watch list. But I might not be trading it today or next week. Yeah, I'm just keeping it on the side. MSGM is also one of those. Why? Because it's a reverse split, 1 to 10. For those of you who don't know what reverse split is, I don't want to explain it here. Just go and search up a little bit, know what that means. But usually with the reverse split, what I've seen so far is the first day is the volume day, and then the next few days, 3 days, very quiet. Like it just dies down, right? It gets ignored, it gets forgotten. But 4th, 5th, 6th, maybe a week later, it starts to bring in that volume. It's purely because I think, I don't want to, talk about pumps and dumps, but a lot of people are taking advantage of something that it seems like it's gapped up huge, right? And then they start to push it, and then a lot of people not realizing this was actually a reverse split. They started thinking, why is this stock moving so much and gapped up and it's held this gap? It's actually not a gap. It was a reverse split. So a lot of people might not know about it. That's why I think anyways, that brings in more, the start of the move. That brings in more new players in the game, and they start pushing the already pumped stock, and it starts to move. And they usually move when they start to move, right? Because a lot of people are not watching this. The volume has died down. The only thing you're seeing is buying, right? There's no selling. And then selling comes in. Usually it could be the first day, second day. But once that volume picks up, I'm going to be watching this. That's all I'm going to say on MSGM. It might not happen this week. Well, it's already end of the week, but it might not happen for the next days or 2 days or 3 days. But I'll still be watching this with only watching the volume. So ARRY, yesterday we traded this. Let's go into ARRY's daily. Why I'm keeping this. ARRY is nothing interesting apart from, you know, this trend down was really nice, but then it got chopped around, very rangy market, not very easy to trade. But why am I keeping it today? Well, the reason why I'm keeping it is earnings gap up lately. Okay, earnings gaps up and then holds this gap. Yes, the first day wasn't that great. Let me just go back. So this day here, you see this? That's the earnings gap up and then starts trading. It looks strong to me. The only thing was volume wasn't enough there. I actually tried to take this in I had a few losers, small losers on it to take it long. Looking at the bigger picture. But it didn't happen the first day. But second day, usually it happens. So I started taking this, building a position from this arrows, as you can see. Yesterday I traded this. I called it out as well. Did a really nice move up, huge partial here. And that's it. That's the only partial I took on it. I'm still in it with the stop just under VWAP. But that's always a mental stop now for me, because if it starts to chop around over the pre-market, then, you know, I probably would take it out manually, not leaving hard stop. But level 20 is a crucial level to watch. If it takes that out, I might exit it. But hopefully it's not gonna. If it doesn't, if it stays over 20, over VWAP for the day, then definitely I'm gonna be swinging it, which I did for today. From yesterday's average price of 1990s. So looking forward to that. And then similarly, we have APPS. I'm still keeping this because it is quite strong at this point when it comes to intraday. Have a look at this, right? Why did it gap up yesterday? Well, it gapped up because of earnings. It beat the earnings and it stayed strong. This was much stronger than ARRY. I did trade this, but very small amount of shares. I wish I traded this one instead of the area in hindsight, but it is what it is. But nevertheless, it's really strong. It's actually struggled at around 1750. Now the level to watch on this one is definitely the high of day. So today, if you're going to be joining the trend on this one, maybe second day continuation, wait for it to break this line here, 1745s to 1750s. If it holds, breaks and holds, then we're going to be looking into longing this thing. And if it doesn't, then I'm just going to leave it alone. Shorting opportunities might be there, but I'm going to be very careful on this one. Slightly long biased. Actually, quite long biased if it breaks that level on APPS. Next, MGNI. MGNI basically, it's very similar to APPS we just saw. Earnings gap, as you can see. Do you see the trend here? Do you see something very, very similar? Identical, gaps up because of earnings and continues to stay strong. So that's why earnings plays are quite important to keep an eye on. If something like this is gapping up and is holding its gap, usually it's a good sign. But yeah, very similar to APPS, it's held its gap. The only issue is it's not as good of a volume as APPS, right? So I would rather trade APPS. But if you find something on this one as well, yeah, looks good, looks strong, maybe for possible second day. The only thing on this one is 10 level. 10 is a really, really big level, like psychological level, double digits, and also daily level. There's a lot of confluence on that 10 level. That's why I keep the level there, and I might put some alerts there as well. If it starts to reject from there, there could be opportunities for really small shorting opportunities, right? And don't look for too much from that rejection, but most importantly, if it takes that out and holds, then we might be seeing some sort of a uptrend on this for second day continuation. Again, earnings play. Now with just remember, this might actually, because this day was huge, there might be some potential at the open profit taking from that day. It might pull back to 9s, 8.5s. It might play around for the next few days here. As long as it's holding this day, this day's low, I'm going to consider this to be trending for the next few weeks. MGNI, same goes to APPS as well. Very, very similar, as you can see, right? So that's, for a longer term perspective, long biased on both. Yeah, I think so, Zell, because I did mention this quite a few days ago as well. We might be in that area where actually market is rebouncing. It might be even a reversal coming into the market because of the daily's price and also the look of the overall look of the the market. We are due for a bigger bounce, at least minimum. We're due for a bigger bounce. So that's why I'm slightly shifting my perspective from shorts into longs. Definitely when it comes to larger caps. Yeah. So CPNG, it's a earnings gap. Again, very similar. Pay attention to when I say very similar, you can learn things from it. Look at this, CPNG, very similar to APPS and MGNI, and same sort of concept. We could see some second day continuation on these. All right. So that's why I kept these, and I also keep these on the earnings watch as well. Peloton. Let's go into Peloton's daily first of all. Why I kept this? Very beaten down stock, very beaten down, and slowly is trying to sort of curl back up. It doesn't look like it's a dead cat bounce, but it's more of a really sort of a curl up. Usually with these ones, if it starts to take out some crucial levels, it will start to go for a bigger bounce, maybe towards 20s or maybe even reversals. But this could be the start of it. Why? Because remember, this day that actually started the whole little bounce thing with a big green day is an earnings day. So earnings came out. They beat the earnings a little bit, I think, not too much, not by much, but that brought in more confidence in the stock. So the demand of the stock gone up a little bit. That could be start of new moves. But just remember, overall market, overall this ticker is down and beaten down badly. So with that in mind, if you are going to be taking longs, try to stick to your stops, because when it does take out those stops, it's going to go. So we might be seeing some sort of a bigger pullback coming into Peloton because of this whole catalyst. People didn't expect it to beat earnings, and it did. So let's go back to intraday. Now, as you can see, intraday, yesterday, gaps up, right? Gaps up and holds this gap, comes down a little bit, yes, but reclaims it very quickly and then holds that gap all the way and keeps on breaking the highs of day, and then ends up very, very strong, very close to 10s. 10 level is a very, very good area to watch on this Peloton. If it stays over that, then it will mean that it's actually showing strength. As you can see, it's taken out daily levels at the bottom, kind of like a reversal pattern here. And this might go for a second day continuation. Peloton, that's why I'm keeping it. UMC. Why did I keep this on the watch? Let's have a look. I'm not really happy about the UMC, although huge move up. Oh yeah, okay. We've got our level showed up a little bit late. All right, so my level I'm watching on this one is 730s to 740s, maybe even 750s. If it pops towards that level, and if it starts to drop, or if it starts to give me a sign of rejection from those levels, shorting opportunities. That's why I kept it. UMC, I'll probably be looking for shorts on it. That's UMC, TGTX. Let's wait for it to load. TGTX, I just don't like the intraday price action, but again, it is a gap up because of earning, and also the strength that came in yesterday was because of earnings. So usually earnings catalyst is something that holds, is stronger than others rumors or news, right? So this has good catalyst behind this move. Does it have enough volume and strength to take it for the second day, which we're expecting for APPS and MGNI and the others? I can't really sort of say on this one specifically, because the volume we saw on this one, if it was really massive, it's only 13 million volume, guys. We should have seen huge volume on this one. So I'm not really sure on this one. If anything, I might look into shorting this. Right, completely opposite of what I normally do, but that's what I feel, that's what I think on this one anyways. Okay, so that's pretty much the main list, guys. I just wanted to go over the list because there was a big list on this one, and I posted it on Discord, and you might be wondering what the hell is going on, right? Some of these, as you saw, DWAC, MSGM is not for today. It's probably for next week, maybe in the next 2 weeks. That's why it's extended a little bit. Few others might be there as well like that. But that's the list. Now gappers, there's a lot of gappers happening. Okay, let's go into the latest gaps. We've got... All right, let me just load up something, guys. Is there anything else gapping that I don't have the list on this here? I've got JD, Billy, PDD, CUK, all of that. But I mostly look at the volume. If there's a good volume on these, I'll look at it. But otherwise, I won't. Like, for example, CUK 82,000. Not really sort of my cup of tea. I really wouldn't. Like, this doesn't have volume, so I'll leave it. But JD seems to be bringing some volume. Even this is just no volume at all. Nope. Yeah, we do have lots of gappers, but not the gappers that you like, Zell. So it's mostly earnings-based gaps, but on those ones, you pay attention to the volume. Whatever you see a huge volume, by now it should be close to 500,000, 1 million, if it's a solid gapper because of earnings. Billy gapped up, but I don't see much of a volume on this one. 262,000 volume is not high enough for me, but we are still very early, so we can keep an eye on those. The one that I got earlier was a Neo gap up. We talked about this with a volume of 1.6 million volume on this gap. DOCS, not huge volume, but I would have preferred bigger volume on this one. Let's see where it stands. It's still holding its gap. This is typically the gapper we saw on APPS, guys. Remember, gapping up because of earnings and is holding its gap. As long as it's trying to hold this gap, we might see some sort of a price action chopping around at the open, but as long as it's holding its gap, there should be some opportunities for longs on these, right? So that's why I kept DOX. DOX is the first day earnings play. Very nice to keep, but the only issue is the volume could be better on DOCS on the gap. GDS, I kept it because it was gapping up. No volume though. I might take this off, guys. GDS is not really I only kept it because I thought in the next half an hour or so, if the volume picks up, I'll keep it. Otherwise, I won't. I'll still keep it. I'll wait for another half an hour. If it picks up again, I'll keep it. Otherwise, I'll just remove it from the list. PDD is also with good volume. It's gapping up with okay volume, but the range isn't there on the pre-market. But nevertheless, there's volume to it. The daily looks really good as well. As you can see, breaks the trend line and is staying over the trend line here. 65 was a good level. It was rejecting from, but now it's actually trading at around 67s here. So PDD could be something. Watch the volume if it picks up. I did mention also with Chinese stocks like Baba, we are getting some, gappers. We are getting gaps on these. Just remember that these are very difficult to trade. We always get these gaps, but yesterday was a really good one. It gaps up and it continues to stay up, right? Today, is there a second day continuation? There might be. If the news with the Chinese government easing off the COVID restrictions is really solid, then this might continue for quite some days, because look at this chart, guys, on Baba. We are heavily beaten down on this. Any good news on these is gonna make it pop quite considerably. That's what I think anyways. So that's and also similar to this is NEO. We talked about this earlier. That's why I kept NEO. So there might be some opportunities, but be careful. Baba could be very choppy. BILI is the one I was looking at earlier, 262,000 volume. But if the volume picks up, I'll still keep this as a gapper, right? So that's the gappers. PDD and NEO is the only one that has decent volume, I think. Amazon, by the way, is gapping. So Amazon gapped up and is actually trying to sort of curl back up. So this is also strength, showing strength, beaten down a little bit in medium term. Bounced. We might see some second day continuation bounce again. 100 is the next level. It's already attacking. No, not really. So this one might be a good stock, bigger, larger cap stock to watch for longs, possible longs. And I don't see much. Okay, anything else you see? Yeah. Unfortunately, Zell, for you, I didn't see much of an opportunity for the pre-market. However, having said that, we might see something popping, moving when it comes to smaller caps. But it might happen in the next half an hour or so. It's still early. That's what I'm looking at, guys. That's why I wanted to just basically stream quickly. I will not be streaming the trading day on Fridays. I don't do that. But hopefully from next week onward, I might be able to do on Fridays as well, the stream. So looking forward to that. I think I haven't missed any of the list that I wanted to cover. Was pretty much it. No worries, Del. I wish you the best of luck. Everybody, take it easy. Friday, so just nice and slow. Fridays can be hectic, choppy. So just remember that. Stick to your rules. Stick to your stop. Don't hold and hope. Because Fridays, remember, Fridays market usually tends to find a direction and usually tends to stay with that direction. So although I'm long biased, in the back of my mind, I have this, I also know that when on Fridays, SPY, if it's going to drop and it's going to start to show weakness, it probably will stay weaker than I can hold on to my trades, right? So yeah, just remember Friday could be very difficult to trade, especially if you have strong bias for the market. Right. Yeah, with the larger caps, it's different. They'll you have to change your perspective in your strategies and your system a little bit. There's a lot of things that changes from smaller cap to larger caps. I wouldn't say at all that they're same. They're not the same. You sometimes have to use completely different sort of approach. Why do I pay attention to bigger picture for larger caps? Because everything is bigger picture, right? Larger caps are traded by the investors, by big monies, huge, you know, big guys, right? So they don't look at like what we look at. They don't look at like, oh, what's it doing today, right? They don't. They are mostly investors. They have already invested or they're trying to invest today. They, for example, let's say they need to take on Apple, Morgan Stanley, right? Where's our Apple? Right? Our Apple, they need to take something today, right? They'll wait for certain levels, certain price points, and they'll start to build up that position. Obviously, you know, if they start to buy something outright when they need to, it's going to be very obvious. Everybody's going to see that, you know, big, they can't do that. They'll have to staircase their way to that order. Why are they taking those orders? Because their you know, investors are telling them to take this for them, and it's always for the long term, right? It's always for the long term. That's why we have to pay attention to overall bigger picture. That's why I go through the SPY all the time. You have to have a little bit of an understanding, not as much, little bit of understanding where SPY lies that day when you're going to be trading. It helps a lot. It does help a lot. So that's why I go through the SPY analysis. So if you're going to be trading large caps, you have to be constantly looking at SPY. You have to be able to read SPY, where it is on daily, bigger picture, where the levels are, things like that. And once you can do that, then you can go into large caps. That's the major difference between small caps and the large caps. Small caps, however, you don't need to look at the SPY. You don't need to sort of base your trades off SPY, none whatsoever. Especially with low floaters, they do their own thing. Most importantly, on low floaters, it'll be the tape reading, right? But also, you know, price action. If something starts to really shoot up, expect it to. There's a lot of things to go through, but I'm not going to go through that with that at all. I can't. It requires hours and hours of talk. But just remember that, yeah, they are completely different, for sure. Yeah, you just need to know what to look for. Bigger picture on the larger caps, not so much of a bigger picture on the smaller caps, right? Just remember, bigger caps, bigger picture, smaller caps, small picture. Not even a picture, right?